is it not worth being glad about your catch too early? What size does the largest caught moonfish reach? With whom do you have to share your prey? What's a night angling dangerous for? Watch this episode. Today, I'll show you the most surprising cases on a fishing trip that were captured on camera. Dreadful encounter. And we'll start with this interesting photo. It went viral on the web as soon as it was posted. No one knows where exactly these actions are taking place, and most importantly, whose hand is sticking out of the water. According to the author's legend, he and his friends met this underwater monster a year ago. It was planning to sink their boat, but a fish that accidentally flew overboard calmed the creature. They realized that if they made an offering, the spirit would be nice to them and would not touch anyone. Since then, the fishermen regularly feed the creature, and in return, it lets them fish here. Seems like a great deal. What do you think? Ocean sunfish. Imagine the face of that underwater monster if people brought it such a sunfish as a gift. This, if anything, is the absolute record holder among bony fish caught off the coast of the Azores in October 2022. Just think, its body weighed almost 3 tons. The height of the sunfish was 11 foot 6 inches, and its length was 11 foot 8 inches. Researchers have not been able to find out the cause of death of the giant. The indentation on the fish's head indicates that it probably collided with a boat. However, it's unknown whether this happened before or after death. Meanwhile, the researchers found no traces of plastic debris in the fish's gastrointestinal tract, which often causes the death of marine animals. In general, despite the huge size, the sunfish is a rather calm creature. It's not characterized by an aggressive temperament. The basis of its diet is plankton as well as salps, comb jellies, and jellyfish. It's believed that this fish has grown to such dimensions precisely because of such a low-calorie menu. They say it eats the same jellyfish in huge quantities and gets enough nutrients with minimal energy expenditure. Whales and some species of sharks grew the same way. But no matter how great sunfish cannot grow, the problem of its own safety cannot be solved. After all, it cannot even bite someone in return. Instead of the usual teeth, our fish has a beak. The only thing that helps is its size. Many predators see a huge fish in front of them and trivially do not risk attacking it. Surprise! I think each of you has heard about the fact that it's never a good idea to fry a fish till it's caught. So if you still doubt the truth of this statement, then just look here. A man was fishing and already anticipating a tasty and large catch when suddenly, at the very last moment, his happiness leaked out of his hands right into the jaws of a giant crocodile. The case was in Australia. According to the men, this is not the first time this predator shot them down toward the end of the fishing trip. If the previous characters of our issue of the catch remained unknown, then the man from this video still managed to see the one he caught. It turned out that the fisherman was very lucky because he pulled out a half lobster. It was given this name because of the amazing coloration, as if dividing the body of the creature in half. Well, secondly, the strange creature is both male and female. It seems to me that the chance of catching such a mutant, in the finest sense of this word, is negligible. What would you do with this catch? Write in the comments. Dangerous waters. So, well, the next story connected with fishing personally made me nervous. It was a beautiful sunny day. The man was doing his favorite thing and it finally bore fruit. A fish was hooked. Except that the nimble fish did not give in to the resident of Florida and he had to bend down to catch it. The man was in no hurry. He didn't want to harm the fish and let her bite himself too. But all this time, as it turned out, someone else was watching the couple. Someone toothy, hungry, and aggressive. It was an alligator. The monster ran out of the water with lightning speed and almost grabbed the guy's arm. Fortunately, everything worked out fine, and the man remained unharmed. Moreover, he didn't even let his fish go and kept his catch. Therefore, after such an intense tug, The alligator had nothing to do but continue to sullenly sit in the water and stare angrily. Double catch. Do you know what the artistic peak is? It's when you can do two things at once. The fisherman in this video felt a nibble and quickly armed himself with a net. No, not for the fish, of course, but for the dog, so that it wouldn't get in the way of catching anything. Come on, I'm kidding. The four-legged one was accidentally trapped. As soon as the man got up, he picked up the net and used it for the intended purpose. Blue marlin. This is the name of a legendary fish that lives in the Atlantic Ocean. It spends most of its time in open waters far from the shore, leading a solitary lifestyle. Blue marlins rarely gather in flocks. It's a predator that hunts smaller fish in the upper layers of water. Females are larger than males. Males rarely reach a weight of 350 pounds, while females usually weigh more than 1,200 pounds. If we take into account the spear, its maximum length can reach up to 16 feet. The length of this weapon from the eyes to the end is about 20% of the total length. We've talked about the dimensions. Now it's time to show you the amazing catch from the coast of Cape Verde. It took about half an hour to pull the giant out of the water. After that, the ship slowly approached the shore. We had to take into account the weight of the huge catch. It seemed to be the largest blue marlin in the world. However, the fishermen did not break the record. Their individual weighed 1,369 pounds, while the record holder weighed 1,402 pounds. Nevertheless, the group of fishermen were not upset at all. It's not every day you manage to pull such a giant out of the water, right? The men got to the wharf and started to cut up the carcass. What would you do if you were in their shoes? Would you have wanted to eat the fish too? Or would you release it into the water? Tell us in the comments. For some, the blue marlin from the previous story would be a real monster because it's very big, but I'd still keep the word monster to describe this creature from Brazil. I don't know what the fisherman did, but he got an unknown creature on his tail. The creature, which jumped out of the water every now and then, resembled a dolphin. However, it looked much more threatening, especially because of its viciously burning eyes. Fortunately, the author of the video managed to escape from the aquatic aggressor. Anyway, the incident remained in his memory. Everyone he showed the video to said with certainty that it was a representative of some new kind of creature, almost an alien. Others said that it was an ordinary predator. It's the time of day and unfortunate refraction of light that created such an amazing effect. I don't know. Strangely enough, I tend to believe in the first version with an alien. Though, truth be told, the waters are actually full of strange and horrible creatures that not everyone would want to deal with. Maybe the eyes of that creature did really glow in an unusual way, and it created a frightening effect. Just look at the creatures fishermen are catching. An Oklahoma man pulled out a giant paddlefish that weighed 66 pounds. He claims it's a record for his state and possibly the world as a whole. Of course, the man is incredibly happy and proud that he was able to tackle such a giant. But you don't have to worry about the fate of the fish. As soon as all the necessary measurements and photos were taken, he immediately released the creature back into the water. Friendly dolphin. Dolphins are incredibly intelligent creatures that are always ready to help people, and as it turns out, they also like to engage in friendly contact with us. Men who went fishing off the coast of Florida were delighted when they saw a pack of dolphins swimming toward their boat. People immediately took out and turned on the camera. Then it happened. One of the fishermen put his hands under the water, and a few seconds later, one of the dolphins jumped out of the water and slightly hit him on the palm of his hand with his dorsal fin. It seems to me that their acquaintance was really successful. I wonder why dolphins do this. Humans are understandable for emotion and interest, but dolphins? Do they really have the same motives? In fact, although it sounds a little surprising, it may well be. After all, their brain size in relation to the size of their body is much larger than that of chimpanzees. At the same time, their behavior indicates a high degree of mental development. In addition, as scientists say, the dolphin has twice as many cerebral gyri as humans. Now, do you want to be even more surprised? It turns out that the dolphin brain sleeps in two stages. The left and right hemispheres of the brain alternate this process. One goes to sleep while the other is active. Dolphins also have a huge vocabulary. It's said that they know more than 14,000 sound signals. They use them not only to communicate, but also to express emotions and readiness to help newborns or sick people. Quick reaction. The next incredible moment was filmed in Sweden. A fisherman was sitting in his boat doing his favorite thing. Then he felt that the fishing line was stretched and was about to pull it. For more convenience, the man went to the shore and continued to hook fish there. However, things were not as smooth as the fisherman would have liked. The prey came off. Any other man would have thrown up his hands, returned back to the boat, and tried to repeat the process, but not our character. He rushed after the fish without a second thought, and you won't believe it, caught it with his bare hands. It's not surprising that his luck caused great delight in his companion. He filmed everything that was happening on video, and even though the phone may have been damaged due to contact with the water, I think it was definitely worth it. Personally, I've only seen this kind of thing in movies before. Today, we've already marveled at the mental abilities of dolphins. Take it from me, you'll be no less surprised by the things the sea lion from the next story did. This cheeky fellow saw the fisherman in front of him. Naturally, he was not going to attack them or spoil the fishing trip in any way. Instead, the creature acted very wisely. It jumped on board so as to not seem too brazen and sat down next to the section where people usually put the fish. Of course, the fisherman bought into the trick and had no choice but to feed the sea lion. The animal gladly accepted the offerings and left with a sense of accomplishment. Hold my beer. That's probably what the feathered creature in this video said in its bird language and surprised a tourist who decided to go fishing on Lake Grindstone in New Mexico. The man, according to his own words, had no bite at all today when suddenly a bird appeared on the horizon, accelerated, and immediately grabbed the fish. This miracle worker turned out to be a hawk, and if you know a little more about these birds, such hunting will not seem so amazing. The fact is that they see better than we do, at least 8 times better. Hawks notice the enemy, accelerate to an unimaginable speed, and literally crash into him with their sharpest talons. Surviving such an attack is rare. Often, after the collision, the hawk's enemy ceases to move normally and becomes an easy meal. As for its enemies, the hawk feeds mainly on birds. It also hunts small animals and insects. Individuals of certain species catch toads, lizards, and snakes. This case happened in Nebraska and became much more important to society. A man accidentally discovered the oldest fossil in the world, 90 million years old. Andy Moore, that's the man's name, has been fishing practically all his life. For him, it's long been more than just a hobby. And to Andy, the moment when a fish bites is a thrill that starts in the spine and goes straight to the brain. In short, it's a sensation that can't be confused with anything else. In the middle of August 2022, Andy Moore took part in a fishing tournament and got a real shock from what he managed to catch. At first, the performance at the competition was not very successful. After a while, the fisherman's line caught something that he first took for a stone and then for the skeleton of a large catfish or deer. As it came out in the end, these were ancient remains belonging to predatory fish of the past. Although Andy's fishing luck did not turn around, he was not upset about the failed tournament. That day made a discovery of his lifetime. The fish, or rather what was left of it, went to a local research center. After analysis and cleaning, it was put on display as a museum piece. Give it back. A North Dakota resident went to a local lake to have a good time and to pull something out for dinner. But the man had no idea his luck would come so soon. In less than 30 minutes, he pulled out his first fish. As it turned out, getting the fish out was only half the battle. It's more important to be able to defend it. Nearby, somewhere between the stones, a mink lived. It was just waiting for someone to catch a fish. And as soon as the sly one saw the prey, it immediately gnawed at it with all its might. The man, of course, was stronger. However, his kind heart did not allow to leave everything as it was. He gave up and returned the fish back into the teeth of the hungry animal. Seems to me that this is absolutely the right thing to do, and fortune will definitely turn to the good man once again. Just like it looks incredibly creepy and disgusting. Some sharks have a human face. A fisherman found just a shark about 2.5 years ago. He fished a pregnant shark out of the waters of Indonesia, which soon died. The fisherman decided to cut open the fish to save its babies and found 2 normal pups and 1 mutant inside. It had 2 large eyes and a mouth, and those facial features didn't look like shark features at all. The mutant looked more like a human. Unfortunately, the unique individual didn't survive either. On the other hand, the shark became a sensation and even something of a local landmark. The fisherman took the shark home. His family helped him treat the unique individual so that it wouldn't begin to decompose. The fisherman was visited by people who wanted to see the rare fish in person, and the fisherman himself said that he was not going to sell such an incredible find and that it could bring him good luck as a talisman. Strange eyes. This fish, which was caught last September off the coast of Australia, has strange eyes and weird appearance in general. Unfortunately, only 1 photo has survived, but even from it, everything's clear. The shark has large, bulging blue eyes and pearly white teeth. It seems that veneers are not only for humans but also for sharks. In addition, the fisherman who caught the species said that it had a strange and very rough skin, like sandpaper. Personally, I've never seen a shark like this before, neither have many other people, including even scientists. Everyone began to argue about what kind of rare individual it was. Some thought it was an alien shark, others thought that it was some known deep-sea species. However, as far as I know, scientists have not yet come to a conclusion about what exactly this species is. They've exhausted many options, from the cookie-cutter shark and the lantern shark to the dogfish shark, but didn't establish the belonging fully. However, the researchers do not rule out the fact that this is a completely new and previously unknown species. What do you think? Is it a new shark species? A fish with a mutation? Or an alien shark? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sharks surprise fishermen more and more often than other fish if they manage to catch them, because it's not uncommon for them to catch some of such creatures. Yes, it's a shark, not some other species or genus of fish. At first, the fishermen thought they'd caught another mutant from the waters near the Italian island of Elba, but it turned out to be simpler. It's an angular rough shark, also known as an Oxynotus centrina. These fish are common in the eastern Atlantic and live in deep water. Because of this, it's rare to see one and even rarer to catch one. In addition, the fish is rare itself. As a species, the angular rough shark is endangered. In some languages, the species called the pig shark. As you can guess, the fish is called pig because of its face. It resembles a pig's snout. But that's not all. Because of the structure of its snout, it makes a grunting sound when it's taken out of the water. In general, the name's appropriate. Cyclops are said to be mythical and fictional creatures not found in our real world. I would argue with that. At the very least, history knows a few Cyclops animals, and the next creature in this episode is just one of them. This incredible individual was found in Mexico a few years ago. A fisherman named Enrique took it out of the water already breathless, so scientists were not able to properly study the unique individual. By the way, it's unique not only because of its eye. The shark was also albino. Cyclops, albino, and shark. That's what I call a combo. This individual can definitely be called one of the rarest in history. What's interesting, scientists found out a curious detail. It turned out that the small, one-eyed baby shark was in the same litter with 9 other pups which were born normal. The albino Cyclops was the only shark with pathology among all its congeners, and this makes the individual even more unique and unusual. Looking at this footage, it's hard to understand what it's all about. But this is a shark, and it was caught recently. It was caught off the coast of Taiwan in June of this year. We see a goblin shark, one of the most mysterious and scariest sharks on the planet. Specifically, these pictures show one of the record-breaking individuals. This goblin shark weighed 1,765 pounds, and its length was 15.4 feet. This is despite the fact that until recently it was believed that goblin sharks cannot weigh more than 463 pounds and to be more than 13 feet long. But everything's understandable. The goblin shark turned out to be a female, pregnant with 6 pups, hence the weight. Initially, the fishermen wanted to sell the goblin shark to a local restaurant, but the management of the Taiwan Ocean Artistic Museum intervened. People said that this is the largest goblin shark ever caught in local waters, so such an individual belongs in the museum and not on the dishes of restaurant customers. In the future, they plan to use this shark for educational purposes. In general, not only this Taiwanese goblin shark can be called rare, but the whole species in general. The fact is that goblin sharks live at great depths. It's almost impossible to encounter them underwater because they live at a depth of over 650 feet. You can only shoot a goblin shark by diving into the ocean in a special device or by sending some kind of drone there. The goblin shark does not seek to rise to the surface. Only about 50 individuals of this species, caught or washed ashore, are known to science. The situation is similar with other species. So I suggest now taking a look at the rarest and most unusual shark species, which are almost impossible to encounter. First up is the frilled shark. Yes, it's a shark, although it's very easy to confuse it with some mutated sea snake or eel. That's because the frilled shark is very ancient. Ancestors of this species have been on Earth since the time of the dinosaurs. The frilled shark as a species is about 80 million years old, and it hasn't changed that much in that time. Like the goblin shark, the frilled shark lives at great depths. It's even been found over 5,000 feet underwater. For this reason, the frilled shark is considered extremely rare, as well as poorly studied. Because to observe the frilled shark, you have to descend to great depths in a special bathyscaphe. But even that doesn't mean that the shark will be found. The first observations of frilled sharks in natural conditions took place only in 2004. Despite this, scientists have learned a few things about the frilled shark. For example, it hunts more like a sea snake, not a shark. The frilled shark bends its entire body up to 6.5 feet long and makes a sharp lunge forward. Long and agile jaws allow it to swallow a large prey whole, and numerous rows of small and needle-sharp teeth do not allow the prey to escape. It just so happened that peaceful sharks are rare. For example, the basking shark is considered a vulnerable species, the whale shark, the largest of all fish in the world, is on the verge of extinction, and the megamouth shark is simply not often seen by humans. That's why it's considered one of the rarest sharks in the world. For all the time, scientists have managed to find about 100 individuals, and they were able to study even fewer individuals. For this reason, not much is known about the megamouth shark. But we still know some things. First, these sharks are found almost exclusively in the southern hemisphere. Secondly, they're some of the largest sharks in the world. Their length reaches 18 feet, and their weight can exceed 2,600 pounds. It's also known that megamouth sharks can be found at different depths, up to 3,000 to 5,000 feet. The megamouth shark is one of 3 sharks known to feed on plankton. The other 2 species are the whale shark and the basking shark, which I've already mentioned. Although the shark itself is very large, it has enemies. For example, cigar sharks. They suck on megamouth sharks, leaving wounds on their bodies. Almost all the megamouth sharks found had scars on their bodies. Next, I'll show you some dangerous moments when people came face to face with sharks. Adestus. The jaws of any shark are its main weapon and trademark. Some sharks' jaws are familiar for us and quite ordinary. Some have huge jaws that look more like an abyss. For example, non-predatory huge sharks have them. But the jaws of Adestus were like scissors. That's why this animal is called the scissor-tooth shark in different languages, including English. If you don't understand why you've never seen this shark in your life, it's because it became extinct a long time ago. Adestus lived about 337 to 287 million years ago. It lived in the seas and oceans in what is now the United States, Great Britain, and Russia. By the way, Adestus is considered a distant relative and kind of great-grandfather of Helicoprion, a cartilaginous fish with no less interesting device in its mouth. Its lower jaw looked like a circular saw, with which the fish literally sawed its prey. As for Adestus, the scientists still don't understand exactly how it used its sharp scissors. Some believe that the jaws worked exactly like scissors and cut the prey. Others believe that Adestus rammed its prey into the side, stabbing it, and then ate it quietly without cutting it open. In any case, this prehistoric shark was extremely dangerous. It's a good thing it's long gone. Cretozarinia. If Adastus is an ancient ancestor of Helicoprion, the Cretozarinia, also known as the Ginsu shark, is a very distant relative of the modern great white shark. Today's toothy fish are very dangerous, but they're not even close to these creatures that lived on the planet 107 to 73 million years ago. The Ginsu shark was much larger than modern great white sharks. It grew up to 26 feet in length and weighed about 3.5 tons. And its teeth were about 2 inches long. That's about as long as those of modern great white sharks. At the same time, the teeth of the ancient shark were stronger, thicker, and wider. This allowed the Ginsu shark to feed on a wide variety of creatures, including large turtles, plesiosaurs, bony fish, and other sharks. And sometimes Ginsu sharks even attacked mosasaurs, which at the time were considered the world's top ocean predators. Nevertheless, mosasaurs also hunted Ginsu sharks and at one time even became one of the reasons for the extinction of these sharks. According to scientists, the large size of the fish, as well as the special and sharp teeth, made almost any Ginsu shark hunt successful. In just a few bites, the ancient shark would rip its prey, and if it was small, the shark could swallow it whole and alive. There were enough extremely dangerous sharks in prehistoric times, but there are still aggressive and creepy predators to this day. One of them is the bull shark. It's not as famous as the great white shark, but according to scientists, it's more dangerous than it and better in some characteristics. For example, unlike great white sharks, the bull shark can swim in fresh water. These predators overcome the rapids of rivers and can suddenly appear next to fishermen who decided to catch some fish in a large river. Also, bull sharks are very aggressive. Scientists believe they're more ferocious than their great white relatives. Seeing a person in the water, the bull shark is very likely to attack them immediately. The bull shark knows how to cloud the mind of a swimmer or a diver. Outwardly, it's slow and clumsy. But at the moment of attack, it develops great speed and quickly pounces. Without weapons or equipment, it would be almost impossible to repel such an attack. It's not even safe in boats, ships, and kayaks. Bull sharks often ram them out of the water, trying to throw people into the sea. For this, people take revenge on bull sharks and fish them out. Sometimes they get really record-breaking and huge individuals. Look at this one, for example, caught in the U.S. waters. The shark weighed about 1,000 pounds. This individual has become a rarity because normally bull sharks weigh about 880 pounds. Just imagine how dangerous this shark was in the water. Tiger shark. And here's another extremely dangerous modern shark. It's called the tiger shark because of its coloration. The predator has noticeable tiger-like stripes on its sides. But it's not just the stripes that make the shark look like tigers, it also has very cool hunting skills. Reaching up to 18 feet in length and weighing up to 1.5 tons, tiger sharks are able to deal with almost any opponent in the world ocean. Crustaceans, fish, marine mammals, cephalopods, turtles, these monsters eat everything and everyone. They even do not disdain eating their own congeners. Sometimes a larger tiger shark can devour a smaller one. If there are no congeners nearby, this water tiger can attack the shark of another species, for example, a hammerhead shark. It's also dangerous to us. The tiger shark seems to have no taste buds because it regards absolutely everything as food and eats everything indiscriminately. Being an aggressive species, the tiger shark attacks humans mercilessly, leaving them no chance to escape. It's possible to escape only by preventively repulsing the attack. If the shark starts to eat, it's the end. Let's go back to prehistoric times for a while. In addition to the scissor-tooth shark and the great-grandmother of the great white shark, there were Tychidus in the water of the world ocean millions of years ago. They were really huge sharks that grew up to 49 feet in length. Now, only whale sharks, the largest on the planet, grow to this size. But the difference is that the whale sharks are harmless and feed on planktons, and the ancient Tychidus were full-fledged predators. They had so many teeth that scientists and ordinary people continue to find them in great numbers to this day. Tychidus mainly fed on mollusks and crustaceans, and they were far from tiny creatures. Some of the mollusks were really huge. See for yourself by looking at the fossils. However, Tychidus cannot be called an extremely dangerous fish. Unlike many other prehistoric sharks, it was quite lazy. Tychidus moved leisurely along the bottom of the ocean, shuffling its belly against the sand, searching for crayfish and mollusks, and not rising to the surface, so those creatures that lived higher up were safe. Mako shark. The next shark from this episode, in my opinion, is more dangerous than Tychidus. Besides, you and I should be worried because it still lives on our planet, although it is an endangered species. The mako shark is one of the most dangerous of all modern sharks. There are several reasons for this. First, it's quite large and grows up to almost 15 feet in length. Secondly, the mako shark is extremely aggressive and is able to chase prey for a long time to achieve its goal. Third, mako sharks are very fast. At maximum, they can swim at a speed of 43 to 50 miles per hour, thus catching up with literally anyone in the ocean. Even fast sailfish, the record breakers in the marine world in terms of speed, do not always have time to get away from this toothy sprinter. Finally, mako sharks are very agile. They're famous for their impressive high jumps out of water. Although it looks beautiful, sometimes it's not funny for fishermen because mako sharks jump out so cool that they sometimes land right on the boats of fishermen and sailors. You must admit that it's not the most pleasant fishing experience. Speaking of it, mako sharks are purposely caught in various oceans. The liver fat is used to make vitamins, the fins are used to make soup, the skin is used in production, and the teeth and jaws of the mako shark serve as souvenirs. The next shark from this episode are also caught because they're of great value. One tooth of this shark is worth almost $1,000, and a whole jaw is estimated at $50,000. Talking about the most famous shark in the world, the great white shark. At the same time, of course, it's one of the most dangerous. The cult movie Jaws showed these sharks as bloodthirsty man-eaters. In fact, they do not pounce on everybody and are not as aggressive and reckless as many people think, but still very dangerous. After all, the 13-foot-long monster weighing several hundred pounds and having several hundred sharp teeth cannot be harmless. Among the great white sharks, there are also particularly dangerous and large individuals. For example, deep blue. It's believed that this is the largest great white shark in the world, which was caught on camera. And not just once, the monster is 22 feet long and weighs 5,500 pounds. However, even without these figures, it's clear that the shark is very large. At some angles, deep blue even looks like a giant extinct megalodon shark. And some even believe that deep blue is a direct descendant of megalodons, or even a real megalodon, which is transformed and survived until our time. And since I'm talking about megalodons, I can't help but tell you more about them. After all, these sharks are often called the most dangerous and aggressive in history. Like Tychicus, megalodons grew up to 49 feet in length or even more, but unlike those bottom sharks that lazily hunted mollusks, megalodons were constantly on the move and searching for prey. They ate prehistoric sea cows and pinnipeds, snacked on small fish, and when they were in a good mood, they even attacked large whales, opening their chest with one blow and bite. Record-breaking shark teeth up to 7.4 inches long were the perfect weapons of megalodon. By comparison, the teeth of great white sharks are 2 inches long. You can see for yourself how much more dangerous the ancient monster was than the modern toothy creatures. Only the largest and most powerful contemporaries of megalodons were able to oppose them, at least something. On the other hand, it's believed that this led to the extinction of megalodons. They simply ate everything in the ocean. There's a food crisis and megalodons gradually became extinct. However, there is a lot of information that several megalodons have survived to this day. Maybe they'll still show themselves in all their glory. I'm sure that when you hear about huge sea creatures, the first thing that comes to your mind is all sorts of fish. No one would think of crayfish because this creature has never been known for its enormous size. But there are exceptions to every rule, and I'm talking about the Tasmanian giant freshwater crayfish. Its body is covered with camouflage dark color, which perfectly performs the role of camouflage among the pebbles and rocks on the bottom. In general, it looks exactly the same as all its crayfish relatives. But the size of this creature is much bigger. If you believe the locals, then in the past they often caught such crayfish with a length of almost 3.5 feet and a weight of 11 pounds. Today there's no such big creatures. Various factors have greatly reduced their size and now they're about half as small. However, they remain abnormally large. To fatten up to incredible size, the animal needs a lot of food and time. There are no problems with the former underwater. These crayfish eat rotting wood with foliage, fish, and other invertebrates. To get fresh meat, the crayfish sits in ambush for a long time. As soon as the prey swims too close, it instantly attacks the prey with its powerful claws. They don't have any problem with time either. These crayfish live for over 40 years. It's likely that this figure could be even higher if it were not for the constant enemies in the natural environment. Platypuses, predatory fish, and many other creatures besides people are not averse to eating this hardy crayfish. A Catfish is a well-known fish, and catching one would be something unique for anyone. However, I want to show you not an ordinary catfish, but the so-called Mekong giant catfish. This underwater inhabitant is the official world heavyweight champion in freshwater. This species can weigh up to 772 pounds at a length of up to 10 feet. Because of its low-set eyes, it looks as if it's always in a downcast state, always a little sad and worried about life. But it's not so. The Mekong giant catfish has nothing to worry about. Such size allows it to feel like the king of the underwater world and eat absolutely any fish that it comes across. The only enemies of this giant are people. No matter how big you are, you won't be able to fight with them. Fishermen often hunt for this catfish, which is why the species has been threatened with extinction. Fortunately, they managed to include it in the endangered species list and started saving it. Who knows, maybe soon the population will increase again. Mega piranha. Have you ever heard of mega piranha? I mean, about the very species of the toothy monsters, which is considered extinct for many millions of years? Well, according to scientists, their length exceeded that of modern piranhas by 4 times and was almost 3.2 feet. Not so long ago, a fisherman caught something similar and made all the scientists nervous. People seriously began to talk about the fact that it could be one of the mega piranha individuals and say that these terrible predators are still alive. It's unknown whether this is true or not. Personally, I wouldn't want predators with a bite force of 5,000 newtons to exist on the same planet as us. It would be okay if it were some big creature that bites very rarely, but piranhas are voracious and insatiable. They can't get enough. Remember what modern piranhas are capable of, and now imagine them only 4 times larger and 5 times stronger. That's what I'm talking about. Definitely doesn't bode well. Wow! Just wow! Look at the fish the fisherman in this video caught. That's a force. That's the power. For those who don't know, this giant is called the Atlantic Goliath grouper or the Itajara. In fact, it's an abnormal underwater inhabitant which can reach 8 or even 10 feet in length. The mass of its body reaches up to 1,000 pounds. The most surprising thing is that usually large individuals have problems with camouflage. However, the Atlantic Goliath grouper is an exception to the rule. Its varied pattern and many colors on the body create a great platform for camouflage, so finding the fish in the water can be a challenge. The fish can be seen only when it comes into contact with its congeners. Atlantic Goliath groupers are able to make a deafening sound with their air bladder. This is how they tell their relatives their location. Although there is only one word in their vocabulary, it does not prevent them from talking to their friends. Arapaima is one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, catching which is a real challenge for fishermen from all over the world. In addition to its impressive size, the fish is also famous for its unique, aggressive character. It seems that only a very strong sailor can subdue such a thing, but this old man proves the opposite. He demonstrates to the world that in this case it's not brute force that's important, but intelligence and experience. Surfer and shark. Few people would want to encounter sharks, but sometimes things happen in life that we don't expect or want. And it's okay if it would be something harmless, but encountering a real giant white shark in the open sea is just something incredible. The surfer in this video was surfing, conquering a huge wave, when suddenly a great white shark swooped just a couple of feet away from him. Whether it wanted to attack the man but missed, or it could just be considered a coincidence, but it looked incredibly dangerous. I hope the divers got out of the water safely and no one had to be rescued, because sometimes it's quite problematic to leave the water because the surfboard is tied to your leg. Broken nose. The next shark situation happened in the Bahamas. In 2016, a diver named Michael went down to the bottom and was filming an incredibly beautiful underwater world when suddenly a lemon shark crashed into him. To be honest, I never understood why it did it, whether the shark wanted to scare the man in this way, or it simply lost its way and didn't have time to turn around. Either way, the incident definitely scared Michael and left him with a nasty gift in the form of a broken nose. I guess he had time to think about what happened while he was in the hospital getting bandaged up. I wonder why the shark attacked him but didn't even try to open its mouth. After all, I'm pretty sure the lemon predator did it on purpose. The thing is, not all sharks need to be on the move to live and breathe. The lemon shark became an exception to the rule. In the course of its evolution, it didn't develop the spiracle, a gill opening located behind the eyes of the shark, providing it with ventilation of the gills, which means that it can swim in one direction or another only for specific reasons. Most likely, the shark chooses a place with strong currents that help it reflexively ventilate its gills, which in turn allows it to lie motionless on sandbanks waiting for prey. Hence, another fact, sharks of this species are quite intelligent by the standards of many of their relatives. In fact, the diver who got his nose broken got off easy, because even though lemon sharks are not considered very dangerous to humans, one can expect anything from them. For example, in this video, another shark tried to throw a man on a jet ski into the water. It happened in Australia. The man was watching the underwater world, not diving to the bottom, and accidentally came across a tiger shark. He rode behind it for a long time and watched its actions, which couldn't help but piss the shark off. Eventually, the shark got angry, swam towards the man's jet ski, and tried to throw him into the water. It's unlikely that it did it in order to personally ride such a cool jet ski. Nevertheless, it is worth noting the patience of the predator. It continued to be neutral towards the man for quite a long time, despite the fact that he teased it. He followed the predatory fish and several times approached it at very close distance. Later, the man admitted that when it swooped on his board, he lost the power of speech and clung to the steering wheel with all his strength. The Australian believes that he was very lucky that the shark didn't continue to attack the vehicle. Otherwise, the chance of falling into the water would have increased. By the way, here's an interesting fact about tiger sharks. Did you know that we're not their favorite food? The fact is that they can easily eat anything that catches their eye. It doesn't even have to be a living thing. In addition to the traditional prey such as fish, seabirds, turtles, and cetaceans, these predators have been seen eating various waste in the form of plastic bottles, car tires, and cans. Besides, car hooves, horseshoes, car license plates, and deer antlers were also found in their stomachs. But how all these things ended up in the water? Well, this is another story. In this video, a shark wanted to attack two divers. However, they were armed with sharp spears, so its plan failed. No matter how much it tried to fool them and make them let their guard down, the people only found themselves closer and closer to the boat, and at some point they got out safely. I think that all these adrenaline lovers and thrill seekers dive just for such cases, when they meet danger face to face and find a way out of this difficult situation. However, sometimes you may not even need to go to the bottom and look for trouble. It'll catch up with you when you're not expecting it at all. The surfer in this video didn't even have time to get on his board yet. He was just floating downstream and adjusting his GoPro camera when suddenly a predatory shark swam by him just a few feet away. The fish cut the man off on the sea, and due to the element of surprise, he could well have fallen into the water. I think after such an incident, he definitely went to a safer surfing spot. However, where's the guarantee that there won't be any predators on the other shore? Am I the only one wondering why sharks do all this? Why do they scare people so much? After all, if they wanted to eat them, they could have attacked them right out of the water without any foreplay. Let's take this video as an example. On it, a man was kayaking when suddenly he was hit from behind by a fast shark. Due to the collision, the man almost lost his balance, but still managed to hold on and didn't fall into the water. The shark, in turn, didn't even expect to chase him and try its luck again. It just bumped into him and swam on its way. I can't understand these fish. If for some reason you still don't understand the dangers of these predatory fish, just look into the abyss, which I call their scary mouth. These are the teeth of the great white shark, one of the most dangerous sharks in the world. They're so sharp that ancient people used them as tools or spearheads. However, sharpness of teeth alone is not enough. Along with them, the great white shark is the owner of one of the most powerful bites in the world, about 18,000 newtons. But maybe they at least have a bad sense of direction? After all, these predators can't be flawless. Well, they can. Great white sharks can even regulate their body temperature to hunt in cold water, and they can also sense the Earth's magnetic field, so they can orient well in space. Add to this the speed of 35 miles per hour and the desire to learn everything closer, scientists have made a statement that great white sharks are quite curious creatures that are always trying to bite someone or something. But not so much because of their aggressiveness or hunger, but for the sake of knowledge. They just want to understand what's in front of them. A chore to remember. Have you ever wanted to encounter real sharks in the open sea or ocean face-to-face? Maybe not like the divers from today's video, but in the cage? I would also like to get such a thrill. But after I watched the next video, this desire began to disappear. Even being in a cage, which seemed to be a guarantee of safety, one doesn't feel any confidence. Sharks bite very hard. It'll be absolutely not difficult for them to break through the cage if they really want to. I doubt that the organizers of this event would want to risk their lives to save the tourist. They'll probably try to help, but if it's too late, they'll have only themselves to blame. As practice shows, no one can stop hungry or aggressive predators. Even if a human is armed with a sharp spear, a shark will still come up with something. And in this video, a man from Australia was diving in his homeland when suddenly a bull shark swam up to him from behind. This fish got its name due to its aggressiveness and unpredictable behavior. So the man definitely should not have relaxed at this moment. With one deft move, it threw the diver's flipper away. It was lucky that his boat was right above him and he didn't have to swim far away. The predator left the guy alone, even though it scared him a lot. And now I'll tell you about some incredibly creepy shark cases caught on camera. Giant Pacific octopus. It's believed that a colossal octopus can live in the ocean, a mythical creature like the Kraken that sinks ships and devours sailors with divers. Maybe there is no such octopus, but there is definitely a giant Pacific octopus. It's the largest of all octopuses, and perhaps the scariest of them all. These giants can weigh up to 110 pounds, growing up to 10 or, according to some reports, 30 feet in length. These monsters can be found in the North Pacific as well as off the Pacific coast of North America. Divers are not thrilled to encounter this giant. They say it's capable of attacking them. Moreover, some giant Pacific octopuses have even tried to drag divers to great depths. You have to admit that when you're attacked by such a monster, there's nothing pleasant about it. Vampire squid. There are other frightening mollusks in the world ocean, for example, giant squids, the largest of their kind, but they try not to show themselves on the surface and in general almost never come into contact with people. To me, the vampire squid looks much scarier than even its giant relative. It looks like the most real monster. It's hard to even believe that such a creature really lives on the same planet with us. The vampire squid swims in the water, opening its large dome-like tentacles and sucking up small plant and animal organisms. It lives at a big depth of 1,300 to 3,000 feet, so it has large eyes. They allow it to see better in total darkness. In fact, this squid is not so big and lives in places where people almost never descend, so it's not so dangerous to us. The thing that it's called a vampire, it's believed that it got its ominous name precisely because of its terrifying appearance. Viperfish. The further we go, the more epic things get. The next animal in this episode is a real horror in the flesh. The viperfish is a typical deep-sea monster. When we think of sea monsters, we imagine something like this. The long body squeezed from the sides, the scary eyes, the glow, and the teeth that are so big they protrude from the mouth. The image is very impressive. Fortunately for us, the viperfish is not dangerous. First, it's not as big as you might think. These monsters rarely exceed even 12 inches in length. Secondly, viperfish like to settle even deeper than those vampire squids. At times, these monsters can be found at a depth of 2.5 miles underwater. However, mostly they swim around 1,600 to 3,000 feet underwater. There, they seek out their prey. They clamp them in their sharp teeth and ruthlessly push them down the gullet. Viperfish are so voracious that they can eat even very large prey. Bloated, they can forget about food for about 2 weeks and just swim, simultaneously scaring the deep-sea inhabitants. Deep-sea angler. And this is something like the viperfish congener. In general, these animals belong to different families and even different orders, but they have a creepy appearance in common. Probably many of you first learned about the existence of this monster from the animated movie Finding Nemo. Remember how the deep-sea angler attacked Marlin and Dory when they were trying to find the mask, which had fallen to great depth? The animated movie characters swam to the light and almost ended up in the mouth of the voracious monster. That's how it attracts prey in real life, because the deep-sea angler lives at great depths where there's no light, starts flashing its esca, and when an unintelligent fish is close, the predator rushes at it sharply and crushes the prey with its powerful and sharp teeth. Bobbit worm. Yes, you can find not only fish in the ocean, but also worms. The bobbit worm is one of them. Just don't think this is some small worm like the ones we take with us on fishing trips. These creatures can grow up to 6.5 to 10 feet in length. And by the way, unlike the deep-sea angler or the viperfish, the bobbit worm lives at depths of 33 to 130 feet, so it is quite possible to stumble on it. But you wouldn't want to do that. These creepy-looking worms crawl along the seafloor and build slime-covered burrows in which they hide. In the hole, the worm ambushes, and when a fish swims over it, it jumps out sharply, grabs it, and drags it to itself. After a hearty meal, the bobbit worm can go without food for about a year. Okay, all the creatures I've shown you, though they look extremely creepy, pose no particular danger to humans. We might just get really scared when we see them, and that's it. But if we see the following creatures, we better run or swim away as quickly as possible because they are extremely venomous. The ocean is full of venomous fish, but none of them can compete with the stonefish. It's the most toxic of the most toxic fish. But what's worse, it's hard to spot. The fish lives up to its name by cleverly camouflaging as a stone or a rock on the seafloor. This is how it ambushes and attacks its prey. It doesn't attack people, but a human themselves may accidentally step on such a stone and be injected with a dose of venom. In some cases, a couple hours is enough to cause death. These beautiful shells are also extremely dangerous. They only look so beautiful and harmless. Look how ruthless they are. They swallow their prey whole. They're cone snails, and their main weapon is a sharp harpoon. They can stick it into an animal or a human from a short distance, or even fire it. In this case, the venom is almost guaranteed to enter the body. The scary thing is that there's no antidote to the cone snail venom. While cone snails and stonefish can be found on the seafloor, one can come across jellyfish in the open water. Almost all jellyfish are beautiful, but many of them are dangerous, and the box jellyfish is extremely dangerous. Many call it the most venomous inhabitant of the ocean. The stings of this jellyfish are not only painful but also very toxic. These jellyfish annually send a lot of people to Kingdom Come, so they should be wary. So are sea snakes. Yes, in the ocean you can find not only water worms but also snakes. There are no escape from these slithering creatures. Not only do they look scary, but also extremely venomous. Many sea snakes are several times more toxic and dangerous than their land relatives. The good news is that they're not aggressive and it's difficult to provoke them to attack. But if provoked, swim away as soon as possible, because a sea snake will certainly try to take revenge. Sharks. I'm sure you've been waiting for these creatures in the episode. After all, sharks are considered by many to be the most dangerous inhabitants of the oceans and seas. They are to be feared, especially the great white sharks. These are the most famous sharks on the planet, which were nicknamed man-eating sharks. Every year there's news about how a great white shark attacks someone. Some people are lucky, but many are maimed or killed on the spot. The bull shark is just as dangerous. Moreover, many scientists generally say that it's much more dangerous than the great white shark. This is largely because of its aggressiveness. While a great white shark can sometimes just swim past a diver or a swimmer, a bull shark will almost always take the opportunity to attack a person. Many divers know this firsthand, so every time they arm themselves with harpoons to be able to repel an attack of this insidious water bull. By the way, these sharks can swim even in rivers and feel great there. So be vigilant when swimming in a river. There are other creepy sharks in the ocean, for example, the goblin shark. But first of all, it's creepy, not dangerous to humans. Yes, it's large and can grow up to 13 feet in length. Yes, it has powerful jaws, but it lives at such great depths that divers just can't reach it. So let this shark just keep scaring everyone with its goblin, creepy appearance. So does this shark. It's called the frilled shark. It's another scary shark that looks like a monster from some horror movie. Of course, it seems like it's some kind of hybrid between an eel, a sea snake, and a shark. Long body, frightening teeth and eyes, strange fins. It's scary to even look at. It's good that it lives at a great depth and isn't dangerous to humans. Speaking of depth, for me, the ocean scares not only with its inhabitants, but also with the fact that it's simply very deep. There's even such a thing as thalassophobia, the fear of the sea or deep water. Yes, you can say that you don't have such a fear, but just imagine yourself in the middle of the open ocean, where there's nothing around, and beneath you there are miles of water with all those frightening sharks, venomous fish, and so on. Such thoughts make one feel uncomfortable. I personally find it especially creepy to think about the Mariana Trench, the deepest point of the ocean. Its depth is about 6.8 miles. That is, even Mount Everest would fit in the Mariana Trench, and there'd still be a couple of kilometers left. In this eerily deep place, no less creepy creatures live. It becomes scary when you realize that even at such a depth, someone can live. And someone believes that the Mariana Trench is inhabited by creatures that have long been considered extinct. For example, the megalodon. Or maybe there are some other monsters that we don't know about yet. Finding under the bridge. Now I suggest you check out the picture that a subscriber sent me. He claims that somewhere in the Chinese province, under one of the main bridges, people found such a squid. It was more than 23 feet long, and its tentacles were scary to say the least. The first time I saw this creature, I had these thoughts in my head. We can only hope that this is nothing more than a figment of my imagination, since an attack by a squid, or its octopus relatives, is not at all what I would like to see. By the way, do you think this picture could be real, or is it a fake? Shouldn't they have told the whole world about such an abnormally large mollusk? Write in the comments, what do you think about this? Although, perhaps the authorities of the country are, on the contrary, trying to withhold such information as much as possible and not let it out of the country. For example, this video was blocked many times when it was first posted on the internet. The author had to repeatedly create a new account and ask for support from the administration to eventually get it to the masses. The video shows mysterious and previously unknown to science creatures hiding in the open ocean near one of the caves, or rather right under it. They reminded me of monkeys, only with much clearer and longer legs. Someone saw trolls in these creatures, and others even took the side that scientists don't know what creatures they found. I'm waiting for your versions in the comments below the video. Apparently, caves are places where various unidentified creatures love to hide. For example, if you go to Turkmenistan, you can see an arthropod discovered in 2018. This eyeless creature is only a few millimeters long, yet it's extremely enduring and, most importantly, hardly noticeable. First, of course, because of its size, and second, because of that stunning coloration. And what's no less surprising is that in such a tiny organism, many functions are elegantly combined, which allows it to quickly adapt to any terrain and conditions, including the extremely difficult cave climate where the arthropod lives. As practice has shown, this creature adores cheese, or is simply baited by an unknown smell, because that's how the researchers managed to catch several representatives of this species at once. The studies of these creatures is ongoing to this day. So far, all that's known is that they're not new to our planet. They've definitely come a long evolutionary way. That's all, guys. Which creature surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.